Oh,
This one's working. Hey, we're live on. Oh my god, we are officially live, so I can do this. Oh, it's she's wet today. I just showered. We can cease
signature.
talking bad about Facebook, right? Well, since they're formally listening now.
Yes.
Hello, Mark Zuckerberg. That is. Oh, hi, Sarah. I
Hi,
know we've been
Michael.
talking for 20 minutes trying to get this live stream running, but
Yep.
I'm going to say hi to you anyway.
Hi. How's your
And
vacation?
what's that?
I said, how's your vacation?
It's good. It's good. It's very different, even though we're in like a favorite place. Even though we knew things were going to be different this year. It's COVID is real, and it sucks. Hot take: COVID sucks. Not pro COVID over here.
Popular opinion?
Yeah, don't roast me. Don't at me. No, it's great. I mean, it's weirdly enough, it's like just as warm as it is in Travers right now. I think it's like what 65 where you are.
Yeah, but it's supposed to start storming on Wednesday.
Oh, and it's not supposed to do that here, so
Mm.
that's good.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, please do not hear me as complaining because I'm definitely not complaining. Let's do close this. Just trying to get things situated. So I guess we'll dive in and start with the modified version of what this is about because and this is very appropriate. Um, Everything can go wrong and will frequently go wrong is basically what I've written down. We had planned to keep this schedule going with the live stream question and answer series every other Monday and being on the road and traveling and having a family stuffed into a car full of, 2.5, 3 weeks worth of gear changes things. And so I thought this was an appropriate discussion of, we've got a change to what we wanted to talk about, but I think the obvious starting place is no matter what you're doing for a living as a photographer, your things will change, your plans will change, your schedule will change. And interestingly enough, I don't know, that's kind of, in my opinion, that's kind of what we're paid to do. We're paid to be able to think fast on our feet. And part of the reason that in a lot of ways our income is, I don't like the word inflated because, you get what you're worth. But the reason that our income looks so high per hour is for all that history of learning and teaching yourself to, think on your feet so that when somebody asks you, oh my God, can we go do those portraits right now, even though you're not ready? Your answer is, yeah, that's no problem. We can go. So we'll eventually, I want to go through our entire streaming process on camera so you can see how complicated this whole thing is. But I had to throw all of that out like 30 minutes before we started. I literally texted Sarah and said, hey, I'm ready early. Do you want to like do a dry run early? And then I looked down and we were like 10 minutes before we were supposed to be going. So normally I've got it streaming through this camera, which you're here. If you're watching this live, Sarah's here. This is me poking you. But I normally can run through this camera, but I completely forgot that camera or that cable at home. So I'll go out to Best Buy or Target or something tomorrow and grab one. But that completely threw my setup. And this whole streaming thing is pretty new for us. So hopefully that same thing that you would do for a wedding day or for a portrait shoot, whether it's like you forgot camera batteries or memory cards, hopefully you have run through that process so many times in your head that you can't lose that one thing that completely changes your workflow. And for here, it means that I'm recording on the built-in camera here, which means that, you've got these beautiful views of, I think that's like an air vent and a fan. And then we'll use this footage on the 5D for later. for the YouTube and whatnot, and for clips. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to start just by going over some stories. Sarah, do you have any stories of like times that things have gone wrong and you had to like kind of think on your feet?
So this past weekend, actually, this is a pretty good one. It ended up working out perfectly, but I got a text on Friday, late afternoon or evening, that a proposal that I was scheduled for on the 27th, so a week later, she wanted to move.
Oh, wow.
And Michael, you've seen these photos already, so it
They're
ended up
beautiful.
working out. But I was like terrified. But obviously, how can you say no to
Right.
that? Like, 'cause you're proposing to someone, so it's, you can't really say no.
Sorry, I'm busy. I have coffee that day.
Right, exactly. But it was, and I usually try to take my dogs for hikes like a couple times a week. And so I
Hmm.
was planning on going out and scouting out the spot and like planning it more. And I was like, okay, nope, let's do this. Sorry, I have a baby if you can hear that.
No apologies. She's beautiful.
Um, Thank you. But anyway, yeah, sometimes just change of plans really throws me for a loop, or change of location. Like I've had clients text me on the way to a shoot saying like, "Hey, actually I don't want to do this in the rain. Can we do somewhere else?" And I'm still learning how to deal with that and how to think on my feet better.
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough, but again, the only methodology for getting better at that is just putting in the hours. It's just like constantly working and growing and planning, and the trick is being able to look at the situation you have now and say, oh, I did that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 weeks ago, and say, oh, I can do that. That's no big deal. Just being able to have that deep history of experimentation, and I guess that's just called experience, right? It's a long, flowy way of just describing experience. Yeah, I have a not at all similar story, but the story that I wrote down about the time when everything kind of like fell apart was, which we lovingly call the pants story. We had a groom that came to us about an hour before the ceremony and was like, "Hey, I got to tell you, I've looked everywhere through the cabin. It's a rental. I just can't find my pants. If you guys could help, I know that's not your job, but if you could help us find these, like just start digging things apart." You know, we were looking for like 30 or 40 minutes, and I had to utter a phrase that I never thought I'd have to say at a wedding, which was, "All right, dude, you're getting married in your jeans. Like it's just gonna have to happen." Uh, we were trying to like keep it from his bride because she was stressed about the day, and someone just kind of mentioned it to her at the last second. She goes, "Oh, you mean these? I have them right here. I just found them. They were in my closet." And Brooke has this beautiful picture of her holding out his pants, and there's this like beautiful green cricket sitting on it. So for whatever reason, the pants story includes the beautiful green cricket sitting on top of the groom's pants. But the wedding ended up being, it was gorgeous, but it was an hour and a half behind, and uh, portraits had to be pushed up because of the sunset. And it's a beautiful wedding, and they have beautiful memories and beautiful photos from that day. But uh, it's a lot of panic to go around. um, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good segue between that and our first and our kind of like topics for today, but um, we decided, because we kind of had to throw this together last second, and I did a terrible job of marketing the actual live stream of this, and I think this is what, the third live we've done. I can't. Does that sound right? Because we've only done 3 of these. We're still kind of getting the word out there, and I wanted to keep that consistent schedule, but not everybody saw that this was happening. So we were kind of brainstorming some new content to push out. And I think the reason I'm sharing this is I think this idea of like radical honesty and kind of transparency, showing you the process by which we go through content creation, which is why I want to show you some of this behind the scenes stuff eventually. I think it's more interesting than trying to give you this like rosy kind of like curated picture of how this works. For example, I'm using the bathroom mirror as a monitor to see that my camera is still recording. Yeah, it's very cute. I'll send photos. But yeah, so instead of going over a Q&A, we're going to kind of start a new segment, basically entitled like things I wish I'd known before starting my business. And Daniel actually, like 3 minutes before we went live, asked that question in the thread, which is so perfect. I can't even explain. It feels like, I don't know, we'll call it quantum entanglement.
It's fate.
Yeah, definitely fated to have this topic come up. But I think that probably just speaks to how universal this idea is. A lot of people I know are probably right now going through the decision whether or not to start a business, especially with the pandemic, kind of forcing everybody to be working from home. And that's, very admirable and very expected. But it can be isolating. You've got yourself and just you, and having this team and this community to kind of like work with is really valuable. So I'm also realizing that we've been recording for a few minutes, and I've got to probably reset that camera because thank you, Canon. So I'll be right back, and we'll jump into this next question. This is the ad break.
Maybe I should come up with an ad.
Buy Sarah's dish soap. I don't know.
Check out my awesome setup of baby toys in the background.
Yeah, Sarah now sells baby toys.
Yep.
Welcome back. Oh, I should do this thing. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
That's for me in editing. Okay. So yeah, let's jump in. This is going to be a longer running segment, and we're going to probably put this in blog format, and we'll kind of chop this up into some other content down the road. But let's talk about getting started in your business and kind of like things that as people inexperienced, kind of on the experience side of things, what do we wish we had known before we got started? And I'm just going to jump in with number one. Just get started. Like the number of times that I tried to, think my way through building a business, or, I have a bad habit of starting with the logo design. So I have a whole bullet point on my notes here that says, do not start with the logo, because nobody cares about your logo if you don't have any content. So just start taking pictures, evolve from there. You will get clients by shooting, by being that person that your friends and family knows is a photographer, as opposed to that person that, has a great logo, but wished that they were taking more pictures. This has to be dealt with delicately and contrasted with, your worth and value as a human. But at the same time, being out there and like offering free sessions to family and friends, just experimenting as much as you can, being hungry, and just building your business by pure brute force is really, really valuable. That's how we started. My first, few sessions were not awesome, and they were not very well paid, or not paid at all. But I mean, my first wedding was, I've talked about it here on stream before, but my first wedding, I made like $400, and it was like probably 14 hours of shooting. But yeah, just start. Like you will find ways to evolve it. You will find ways to change it. Heck, we were talking about this concept unrelated, about Brianna and I were talking about mentor sessions today, and we were talking about whether or not we should be sending out like this type of survey versus this, whether or not we should be sending this type of worksheet versus this. And the answer is like, just get it out the door and evolve it later. You're going to get feedback from people as they're enjoying your sessions or not enjoying your sessions. You'll find hiccups, you'll find rough spots, and you won't find those by sitting at home wishing you were shooting. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I think you covered it. Literally, it's
Yeah.
so basic, but it's so hard. I feel like I struggled with that too, and I still am. Setting yourself up for success. Like, I definitely recommend getting an online gallery system as part of starting
Yeah,
because
for
I think
sure.
I struggled without that for a long time.
Hmm. Yeah, I think we talked about that last week. Super, super valuable. But that's the kind of stuff like if you don't have that yet, if you don't have your gallery set up, your website set up, step one isn't setting up your gallery. Step one is
Mm-mm.
shooting. Maybe
Hmm.
step two is setting up that online gallery system or online delivery system. But step one is definitely like take camera and point it at the thing you want to record and just do that 1,000 times as much as you can.
Take your camera everywhere.
Oh, that's a good one. We're adding that to the notes. I'm adding that to your take your camera everywhere. Um, that's literally why I have this camera. You know, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I literally have this smaller mirrorless camera just so that I can have a camera with me everywhere. And over the last 3 days, I think I've edited and delivered something like 300 photos just from hiking around, traveling around with family, which I wouldn't have done pulling out that big chunky camera. All right, let's see. This is a big one. I wrote a lot of notes on this one, but you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. You don't. We One of the hardest things we did really early on was decide that we had, I don't know, morals is kind of the wrong word for it, but it does come into play with it. But we had like an aesthetic that we wanted to stick to. That doesn't mean we had our like editing figured out. That doesn't mean that we had our shooting style figured out. That means that we knew there were certain types of photography that we just didn't want to do. I, I don't want to, and this is no shade to people who put babies in baskets, but I didn't want to put a baby in a basket. Just wasn't my aesthetic, wasn't something I wanted to do. And so when somebody asked us to shoot newborn photos, we decided, hey, I would love to do that. I'm going to do this like a little bit different than you might be expecting. So if you want to, take a look at how we do our normal photos, your newborn pictures will look a little bit like this. That first time that somebody asked that of us, it was a hard decision because there's a good chance that someone was going to go, oh, but I have this beautiful basket that I bought and I would like you to put my baby in that basket. Um, Turning down good work because they won't be happy with what you made is a really hard decision. And I know it kind of sounds like it goes in direct contrast with what we just got done saying, which was be shooting constantly. But this is a nuanced back and forth. You need to decide internally, is this shoot right for me? And am I the right photographer for this client? And making those decisions really early on will set you up with like a really good bedrock for your brand, for the reliability and the consistency that people need to expect. When you have an entire Instagram feed that looks a certain way, a client can look at that and they can picture themselves in those photos and they can say, I want my family pictures to look like that. I want my wedding photos to look like that. I want my senior portraits to look like that. And if they can't do that, it's difficult. You're not going to make conversions. You're not going to make sales in the same way that if someone can look through your feed and see themselves in that. What else did I write on this? Oh man, I contradict myself a lot, but I think this one's interesting. Some clients will come with expectations, baskets, for example. And sometimes, again, I'm contradicting myself. Sometimes you do meet those expectations and then you move on. So let's say like an ideal client walks into your world and they say, hey, I have this, like, we're basically going to be best friends. I want to work with you. I bought this beautiful basket for my newborn. And you say, hey, that's not really my style. But man, everything else is just like clicking. Maybe you do that. Maybe you do that basket shot and then you say, hey, like my focus is generally on this. So I'm going to we can totally make that shot work. And then we're going to move on to the next thing. So I know I'm explicitly contradicting myself here, but there is a middle ground where you can decide that sometimes I'm going to, break my own rules and I'm going to take on some work because I really like this client, or like I just really connect with this couple, or whatever that looks like. And sometimes you just don't put that piece in your portfolio. Like you make them happy, you make them the work that they really really want, and then you make your portfolio what you want. And kind of an offshoot of that, I wrote down, like, not every shoot that you ever do has to be groundbreaking. Not every shoot has to be like your most absolute creative work. This is not like the fun side of shooting when you're working in this model, but like every once in a while you have a shoot that you just go, I'm going to lean on my past experiences and I'm going to pull through and I'm going to make this one good, but I'm going to use the end of this shoot, like the last 5%, to try something experimental for myself, or I'm going to try, my next shoot is going to be, that much better because I just didn't have it in this one. That happens, like there are times when you don't realize that you're kind of spent, and that can be okay. Sarah, do you have any, I know we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but do you have any stories like that where you just kind of like didn't have it?
Yeah, I think when I first started, I got in the habit of like, oh, I can't wait to put this on Instagram. I need this for my portfolio. Like, just really excited that I was shooting. But then I started just being like, oh, I feel like I'm not as good, or I feel like that shoot just wasn't me. And I
Yeah.
think you told me you're like, not everything has to go on your portfolio. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Like I can, the client's happy, even though I feel like it's not my best. Not everything has to be portfolio worthy, or not
Perfect.
everything,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, has to be framed.
Yeah. And you got paid and they're happy and they're gonna, share your work to other people. And then maybe next time they come back or their friends come back, you can push that creative envelope just a little bit harder. And then they're like, wow, these are even better than the last time I was happy. But they don't, yeah, not everyone has to be the showstopper, and it's not going to be, right? If that was the case, that like every single time you picked up your camera, it was like 30%, 100% better than your last shoot, man, you're going to be the best photographer in the world, because I can't do that. And I've been shooting for like, what year is it? 21? I don't know. I can't do the math. 10 or 11, 12 years, something like that. I definitely have some shoots in my portfolio where I'm like, I didn't phone it in. I did not phone it in. But I have some shoots in my portfolio or in my background where I'm just like, they are going to be happy with these. I'm pulling out the tricks that I have in my wheelhouse, but I need to push myself next time.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool. Unless there's anything else you have on that one, I'm going to jump into kind of like our last topic for today. And this comes from Brooke, who this is something that we talk about a lot, her and I, but making your client comfortable is at least 75% of the job. I joke constantly when I'm kind of hyping my clients up for our shoot. I make the joke that our work is like 99% camera, or wait, that's the opposite. Our work is like 99% human interaction and 10% camera. Like half of what we do is trying to find ways to get this thing to kind of like fall away. So if you can have that conversation, make them comfortable, set up expectations, and then this just kind of like slides in when necessary, but doesn't kind of like disrupt the flow. That's when things go well. If you can prep your clients early, explain to them, how it's going to run, what they can expect to experience on the shoot day, like what you're taking care of, what their responsibilities are, what your responsibilities are. There are times to do that, through email ahead of time, whether it's through that or like through a FaceTime call or like a video call. We have like a bunch of little like web pages set up on our site that are hidden from view that we send out to our couples and our sessions early, so they can understand like what it's like to have your senior portraits taken. And then we also have a very elaborate client pep talk that we have right before the shoot. as we're walking in, hey, nice to meet you. Let's go take pictures. Hey, real quick, let's talk about how this is going to go. And eventually I know I'm just going to like mock this up on camera and kind of show y'all how we talk. But it's a hard won speech. We've had a lot of back and forth on like after the shoot we'll say, hey, how do you think that went? Do you think that we should have said this to them ahead of time? Should we prep them this way? Those things, that kind of like hashing things out can be really, really valuable. And I think that, we've talked about this quite a bit, but having a community like Photo Club, having people in your corner, like I call it like a brainstorming buddy, whether it's, a bigger community like us that you can kind of like post in a Facebook group or share on Instagram and say like, hey, what do you think about this? Or if you have like a personal friend that you can, share back and forth with and be like, hey, I had a really hard time in this last shoot. Can you help me? Does this edit look weird? Do I need to Photoshop that hand out or whatever that looks like? Having somebody like that in your corner is really valuable. Again, it can just be us. It can just be like a community like this. And eventually, when we open up photo walks again, they can be in person. We can be real friends, not just on the internet. Trust is important. When you get trust from your clients, they will open up. When you get trust from the people that you're photographing, they will show you them they will show you them true selves. When you have the trust of the people you are photographing, they will show you their true selves. And that makes photographing people so much easier. Any thoughts on that, Sarah?
Be yourself. Don't try to be, we've talked about this quite a few times, but the extrovert introvert. I'm an introvert. And so I feel like when I first started, I would try to be more extroverted and it just wasn't genuine.
Yeah, for sure.
So be yourself.
That is a conversation that I know there are a few people listening that are, I don't think you're mad at me, but I do think you are waiting very patiently for us to get a content calendar out so that we can get that discussion is very, very sought after. So we need to get like a roundtable discussion. It'll probably be when we are back from Asheville, so that we can have, a more professional setup and know that we have, the right people. But we should get that rolling like now. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions before we go? Anything you want to talk about?
I'm just checking on the Facebook page.
Sounds good.
No, I don't see anything unless refreshing.
Hi, Clem.
Yeah, sorry, I keep muting. My baby's very talkative.
Oh, I like it.
He says hi.
That
No,
voice.
I think we're good on questions.
Cool. Well, everybody, thanks for putting up with, what's it like? Okay. In our defense, this one wasn't our fault. Well, it was a little bit our fault. We were like 5 minutes behind. I think it was like 8 minutes behind, but, we spent 20 minutes trying to get the Facebook stream working and it didn't work. So we had to put it in a different place, but, we'll get that figured out. I'll go buy that cable so it can be a little easier, and, let's talk soon. Bye, Clem. Bye, Sarah.
She says bye, Uncle Michael.
Can we get one recording like right up against the mic of her?
One recording of her.
Of course, when we ask her to, she clams up. She clams up. I'm sorry. I regret that.
That's perfect. Oh yeah. Now she's gonna be perfect angel and
now she's me. Oh, come on. She's perfect when she's Oh man. When I set up the mics for us the first time, we were still in Florida, and all of the test audio is Milo just like coming into the room, like grabbing things and like, batting at the mic. And I gotta say, I've definitely saved that audio in a separate folder, like a special folder, because it's so cute.
That is so
babble.
cute. Yeah. Babies
Okay.
talking in mics. Nothing cuter.
All right. Let's talk soon. See y'all. Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna do this just for the recording.